Who would have known that with this thumbnail, Mr. Pokey created one of the greatest gacha memes in 2024? It's been used sarcastically, sure, especially when Kuro's made some minor blunders with their patches and fixes across the game's lifecycle. But it's also been used for many of the positive changes the devs have made, actions motivated by the direct feedback of players. The devs listened wouldn't be a popular phrase if it wasn't true, and the Wuthering Waves developers do, in fact, listen. And the public reception to their listening has been so positive and industry warping that other gacha developers, including the biggest one in the business, have been forced to start listening as well. It just took them a couple of years and a bit of pressure. It turns out that healthy competition is a good thing, despite what some players might say. There's two reasons why Genshin Impact has seen more quality of life updates in the past 4 months than they've seen in 4 years of service. Those reasons are called Wuthering Waves and Kuro games, a game developed with the harshest feedback of its predecessors in mind, and developers who are constantly keeping their finger on the community's pulse to find and fix whatever issues players are having. When Kuro hears a complaint, they fix it, and they don't just do the bare minimum, they go above and beyond. Today we'll be breaking down why this is the case, exploring how the devs have kept the player experience top of mind, from Wuthering Waves' development and baseline mechanics, all the way to the massive quality of life updates we've seen since launch. The number and content of these changes is absolutely astonishing, and most importantly, actually useful and accessible for the player. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. From the ground up, Wuthering Waves was a game designed to limit player frustration. Kuro recognized that a huge portion of their potential player base were coming over from massive titles like Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, and took the biggest critiques of those games to heart when designing the systems in Wuthering Waves. When it comes to basic mechanics of an open world like exploration, they streamlined the experience significantly, implementing features like unlimited out-of-combat sprinting, vertical wall running, and something that isn't stated enough, near immediate access to all of the essential exploration gadgets, like the grappling hook, portable teleportation points, and my personal favorite, the loot mapper. By implementing these changes, Kuro simplified progression for players and removed unnecessary bloat from the overworld experience. Convenient travel mechanics aren't locked to a single region or section of the map, and it doesn't feel like you need to pull specific limited characters to have an interesting or enjoyable exploration experience. But Kuro still found ways to improve. Players complained about the clunkiness of certain overworld activities like the shooting challenges and destructible collectibles, citing how switching back and forth between pistol users and their regular teams to 100% the map wasn't a great experience. They acted on this feedback immediately, and in just its second version, Wuthering Waves released a shooter gadget that removed this inconvenience completely. This wasn't something that they had to do. Hoyoverse had clearly demonstrated you could get away with ignoring complaints like these for years, but Kuro decided to respond in weeks. This wasn't something that they had to do. Everybody unlocked Chisha for free in the first 5 minutes of the game, but Kuro wanted to go above and beyond to cater to players. That's why people say the Wuthering Waves devs listened. It's because they do. However, this isn't the only area where the devs did far more than they needed to when implementing quality of life updates. Wave plates, or the daily energy system, was also designed with the player experience top of mind. With a 240 limit and a simple accumulation of 10 per hour, Wuwa's energy system was a lot easier to keep track of compared to Genshin's, and also had a much higher cap. While other games launched with a much lower cap on their energy that was increased in later updates, with Honkai Star Rail taking over 4 months and Genshin Impact taking nearly 4 years, Kuro simply launched Wuthering Waves with the highest energy cap seen in the industry. That's a dev going above and beyond, and that's at the launch of the game. However, that wasn't enough either. Even with this massive energy cap, players wanted more, and Kuro gave it to them. With 1.2, Kuro added the Wave Plate Crystal system as an excess energy system with a cap of 480, and perhaps most importantly, a rate of 1 every 12 minutes. When the baseline rate is 1 every 10 minutes, this is incredibly fast. Other games like HSR, theirs is 1 every 18 minutes. That is 50% slower. Nobody would have complained if Kuro had simply kept the same rate as one of their competitors. Instead, they again decided to go above and beyond when it came to their implementation of a highly requested system. Other companies, well, they take highly requested features, like a custom artifact molder in Genshin, and completely butcher its implementation. It is mind-blowing that Hoyoverse took almost 4 years to add this into the game, and when they do, it's time-gated by almost 1/3 or even more of the calendar year. Enjoy your one customized artifact every 4 to 6 months. But while we're on the topic of gear, this was another area where Kuro demonstrated an incredible amount of player receptiveness. Echoes were one of the most unique and creative takes on the gear grind in gacha games, with the ability to infinitely farm overworld monsters and the streamlined methods of obtaining critical components of a character's build with its design of the 1, 3, and 4 cost system. Echoes were another big pain point for players, with a large disparity between the availability of echoes and the actual experience and tuners used to level them up. Kuro responded with a diplomatic solution to increase echo materials. Rather than increasing tacit field rewards and retroactively punishing players who didn't hoard their resources, they instead implemented these rewards across a massive number of events and activities, equally rewarding all players. But still, people had issues with echoes, and now that people had progressed further into the game, grinding overworld mobs for drops had become a lot less appealing. So they just went ahead and started giving out a massive number of randomized echo drops across every avenue of content. From repeatable activities like the Elusive Realm, all the way to story events like the Moon Chasing Festival. Kuro takes feedback and implements it quickly. Oftentimes, all it takes is just one version. This level of response is something that gacha players aren't used to, but this is just the way that Kuro does things. By acting on these requests, Kuro in turn fosters a community that doesn't have that same level of toxic positivity other gacha games are notorious for, and that's a very good thing. These are only a few examples of how the devs listen, and how they've been listening for a very long time. There are even smaller updates I could have mentioned as well, but it's important to highlight where Kuro has demonstrated their care for the player base and their enjoyment of the game. Just imagine what the future updates will have. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.